You've had a good week. And something that has been sticking in my mind all week is just to be kind to one another. We really don't know what kind of day somebody else has been having. And I just highly encourage everyone just to be kind. I know things have been really challenging lately. um, That really doesn't have to anything to do with my topic, but I'm going to continue with my cybersecurity topic, and this is going to be part three. I'm going to end it here. I may have mentioned previously, but October is Cybersecurity Month, and I thought I'd give you some tips on how to protect your finances and a little bit about your computer. I just put the disclaimer out there. I did not study this. These are tips that I've learned along the way, and I just wanted to share them with you. But the first one area I want to cover today is your home Wi-Fi. In one of the previous videos, we had talked about using free Wi-Fi when you're out and about and the dangers that go along with that. But do you realize there's even dangers with your own home Wi-Fi? So I'm going to touch on a couple of points there. First of all, if you were like me, I had actually rented my router from my service provider and they provided it to me. They gave me a username and a password, and I installed it, and away we went. Didn't think too much about it, but there's a couple of things wrong with what I just said. First of all, if they're giving you a router and it has a username and password, number one thing to do is change it. Okay. Um, don't know what happened in the back office of your service provider, don't know where this information is, but you need to change it. And when it comes to the password dealing with your router, it needs to be one of the most secure passwords that you have out there. Okay. Could be 20 characters long, something you absolutely won't remember, has nothing to do with anything, but remember to keep those capital letters, small letters, numbers, symbols, um, and put it to work for you. So the second aspect of this is that you don't necessarily need to lease it or rent it from your service provider. You can actually purchase your own router. I did this myself when I started, Pearson Financial Planning up and going. Uh, and actually, I found it's going to be a break even for me probably within the first 10 months because I was paying close to $14 a month for renting the router from my service provider, and then I was able to purchase one um, that suits all of my needs for just a little over $100. And that way I could set it up myself. I have my own username and password. I don't have to worry about any interactions with the service provider from that standpoint. The other thing that you need to be cautious about is the encryption that you have on the router. So previously there was an encryption service called WEP, and I always have to look this up. WEP stands for Wire Equivalent Privacy. Those are out of date now. Okay. The type of encryption you should be using is either a WPA, which stands for Wireless Protected Access, number two, or number three. So WAP two or three. Those have much better levels of encryption than WPE does any longer. So you want to go back and check your settings. And I know this might sound a little bit technical. Um, Actually, if you have the availability like I do to a 25 and 26-year-old child, you have them go in and figure this out for you. If you do not, go back to the user manual that came along with the router, or go back to your service provider and ask them how you can update your encryption, because that's very important. So the encryption is like a firewall and letting the information get into your home. And I don't know about you, but there used to be stories about people that would drive around neighborhoods and they would sit in their cars and they would try to break through the systems. So making sure that you have the best level of encryption is very important. The second thing, or the third thing you want to do with your router is you want to turn off your, again, I need to, your WPS. So WPS stands for Wi-Fi Protected Setup. And what that is it actually allows you to use a shortened passcode instead of the password to get into the router. You don't want that to happen. You don't want any shortened type of a code. You want to keep that strong. So I encourage you to disable that. All right. And the fourth part that deals with your Wi-Fi, um, oh, I did. That was number four. Sorry. So number one was about changing your username and password. Number two was buying your own router. Number three was your encryption level, and number four was that the WPS. Okay. So that's a little bit of tips in regard to your router. The second thing I wanted to talk about today is setting up auto notifications on your investment accounts, your bank accounts, and your credit cards. So you may be well aware that your bank gets notification if you withdraw money from your ATM. Your credit card company gets notification when you use your credit card to make a purchase. So why shouldn't you be getting those notifications as well? So one Saturday morning, I received a phone call at 9 a.m. from Target, and Target asked me if I had used my card the previous evening and purchased a newspaper for $1.40. And there was another small purchase for like 40 cents. So for whatever reason, it showed up as a red flag on their system that these weren't purchases that I normally make. And I think I may have shared this with you already. I only use my Target card at Target because I'm going for that 5% off. Um, but uh, but I was glad that they had caught it. They immediately suspended my credit card and um, sent me a new one. So I know that the credit card companies are constantly watching. They saw activity that wasn't normal to my usage, and they did that. But why shouldn't you be able to see activity that happens on your credit cards or withdrawals that may be happening from your investment account or from your bank account? So you can work with all of those institutions to get that set up, and it can either be a text or it can be an email that comes to you to let you know when activity happens. I don't know about you, but since Corona has happened and affected us, I've actually been using my credit cards on a more frequent basis. But there's only one that I use on a regular basis. I use Target at my Target because I get that benefit. But I have another one that I use on. And so being able to see the activity that happens, I know right away if it's mine or not. So I'll be able to react to it even quicker than the credit card company. So that's my second tip for today. My third tip is about updating software. So you may think, well, I probably do that on a regular basis, but what's the benefit of that? So we had talked previously about malware, and one of the malwares out there is called ransomware. And for those of you who may not have had any experience with this, ransomware is when somebody hacks through your system and they grab a hold of all of your files, and then they will send you a note saying that I want or they want some kind of ransom paid before they're going to release your files. And in some cases they are asking it to be paid in Bitcoin, which is a whole nother level of complexity that goes along with that. But with ransomware, one way to you can't necessarily, well, there's one way to avoid it, excuse me, is to keep your software updated. So for example, Microsoft 7 stopped updating that software a number of years ago now, I think it is. And what happens if you are continuing to use something like Microsoft 7, they are no longer patching any holes. So there may be something that opens up that allows these hackers to get through if you have Microsoft 7 on your software or on your computer system. So by updating that and going to Microsoft 10 or Office, something that's most recent for that purpose. But you may also do this on your cell phones. I don't know about your service provider, but they let me know constantly when there's an update happening. And I have set it up as an automatic thing to happen. It usually happens in the middle of the night, and then in the morning when I wake up, it says your cell phone has been updated, or your software on the cell phone has been updated. But you not only want to do that with Windows, you want to do that, maybe use Adobe. You want to keep that up to date, even if it's just the reader. You want to make sure that you're using the most up to date software that you can. And anything that you have downloaded onto your system, you want to make sure that it's fresh and has all the newest level of protection that goes along with that. So going back to that cyberware, or I'm sorry, going back to the ransomware, if somebody has contacted you and said that they have locked up all your files. One way to help prevent this of being a complete disaster is to back up your files. And I suggest three different ways of backing up the files. Number one, you should back it up to your computer system. And you can actually have that set up that um, I even have it so if I'm creating a document, that it is saving it for me as I'm creating it. I don't know about you, but if you've ever had a system crash after you've been writing for a number of pages and you just lost everything, that is just devastating. So I actually have the happening while I'm creating documents, and it's saving it right back to my computer system. The second way that you can back up your information is using a hard drive, an external hard drive, and it's as simple as plugging it into your device and setting it up that it happens on a regular basis, depending upon the amount of information you're using every day. Mine isn't that voluminous. I'm not saving that much to my devices, so I just have it done once a day. But if you've got that going all day long, you might want to have it happen throughout the day, that it's backing up to that external hard drive. And the third place is to back it up to an external site, potentially using a cloud. And there's a number of different services out there like iCloud or Dropbox that you can have your information backed up there as well. Another one is OneDrive. So I highly suggest all three levels of backing up that information. So if you do have ransomware that ends up in your system and it's locking up your files, odds are good maybe you've only lost 1 day of information. So you might not be as inclined to pay the ransom and may be able to retrieve what you may have lost. So that's my third tip for the day. And the fourth tip for the day is to um, just be cognizant at all times of all those different things. So this was part three. And if you remember, the first one we talked about keeping your email safe and be careful of phishing and people trying to break through. The, the second one was on credit freezes. And this one is just a number of different aspects of cybersecurity. So all of these are going to help keep your finances safe because so many of us are using our our devices to have access to our bank accounts, our investment accounts, our credit cards. And hopefully you can implement one or all of these tips that I've put into place for you and make yourself a little bit safer. So in addition to these three videos that I've created over the past 3 weeks, I'm going to be uploading to the our private group here the presentation that I made at Northland Library last Thursday. And it actually encompasses everything that I've just talked about. It's about 50 minutes long. It gives you a little bit more detail on all of these areas, but it's there for you to use. Um, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Give me a call at 412-346-4655, or you can email me at diane@pearsonfinancialplanning.com. As always, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope that you want to share this information with others that may have similar issues. And if you'd like me to invite them, all you need to do is shoot me a private message or send me something um, via Facebook and provide me with that person's contact information, and I'll invite them to join our group. But I hope the rest of your day is fantastic. And again, thank you for joining me.